Let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join us. And as always, we welcome any suggestions, feedback, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. Before we get started, I want to send all of you thank you for your tremendous support. People are slowly but surely finding out about who we are and what we do. They enjoy and respect the passion with which we speak. But as we always say here at Chin Check Sports Radio, we do this because we love it, as we are simply sharing our passions with you all as we continue to build our listening army to take over the world. Before we get into our regular content here, we definitely wanted to send a Chin Check Sports Radio prayer and shout out to Buffalo Bills cornerback Damar Hamlin, who seems to be progressing nicely from the unfortunate incident that occurred on Monday Night Football. Fell out on the field, had to be administered CPR. It was later revealed that he suffered from cardiac arrest, had to be resuscitated not once but twice, and it definitely was a hard thing to see on live television. As professional football players, we see these guys hurt their legs, hurt their backs, some cases even hurt their necks, suffer head injuries, i.e. concussions, and we usually see them kind of bounce back or limp off the field, or they usually bring the cart out for them and stuff like that. But in a very rare occasion, we saw the ambulance out, they hear the Monday night announce team telling us that they were performing CPR. It was a very scary sight to see. We love how the NFL fan bases came together, and a special shout out to the Cincinnati Bengals fan base for showing up to the hospital, showing their care and passion for Damar Hamlin, and to his family. We're deeply sorry for you having to see that and having to go through that, but we're glad he's doing okay. As the week progressed, he was breathing on his own. Then I believe we saw a tweet today where he tweeted out, obviously on Twitter, that he's doing much better. So to Damar Hamlin and his family, we hope for the best for you. The fact that you're able to breathe on your own and you're able to tweet, and we hear word that he FaceTimed the team. So now the next step is to get him out of that hospital and for him to be home with his family to enjoy his life. So definitely hard to watch, but definitely glad the fact that he's doing a whole lot better, which is obviously the most important thing. We disagree with a lot of people criticizing the NFL about their delayed decision to stop the ball game. Again, it was very hard to watch. I don't think anything like this has ever happened before, but we're glad the coaches stepped up. Sometimes in times of crisis is when true leadership is revealed, and the head coach of the Bengals, as well as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, they definitely made the right decision. The players made the right decision not to continue the game, so it definitely was not in their best interest. So again, we're not going to beat up on NFL too much, because as we stated before, the average sports fan who is on a sanctimonious high horse about the NFL are the same sports fans that calls players soft when they do suffer injuries and saying, well, these guys get paid a lot of money, they should suck it up and play. Or if I was getting paid that kind of money, you can chop off my foot and I would still play. So we definitely didn't agree with the criticism of the NFL. Of course, things can always be handled better, but for everybody to get on their high horse, we didn't agree with that. So again, we commend the fan bases involved. Definitely a special shout out to the medical staff who clearly saved this young man's life. So again, we're glad everything is working out. Here on YouTube, we are your go-to on YouTube for Dallas Cowboys coverage throughout the NFL season, and the Dallas Cowboys 2022 Week 17 finale against NFC East rival, the Washington Commanders, in an absolute drubbing, a 26-6 loss. Let's jump into our numbers here. Quarterback Dak Prescott, 14 of 37 attempts, 128 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Yes, folks, you heard that correct. Malik Davis, 5 carries, 19 yards. Tony Pollard, 7 carries, 19 yards. Dak Prescott, 6 carries, 16 yards. Ezekiel Elliott, 8 carries, 10 yards. CeeDee Lamb, 5 catches, 52 yards, and 1 touchdown. Dalton Schultz, 4 catches, 33 yards. T.Y. Hilton, 2 catches, 19 yards. Noah Brown, 1 catch, 10 yards. Michael Gallup, 1 catch, 10 yards. Chauncey Golston on the defensive side, 11 total tackles, 5 solo. Osa Odigizua, 7 total tackles, 6 solo, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss. Tyler Cole, 6 total tackles, 4 solo. Anthony Barr, 6 total tackles, 3 solo. Dorrance Armstrong, 5 total tackles, 2 solo. Half a sack, 1 tackle for a loss. Donovan Wilson, 4 total tackles, 2 solo. Malik Hooker, 4 total tackles, 1 solo, 1 tackle for a loss. Neville Gallimore, 4 total tackles, 1 solo. Carlos Watkins, 3 total tackles, 3 solo, 1 tackle for a loss. J-Ron Kearse, 3 total tackles, 3 solo. Trayvon Mullen, 3 total tackles, 3 solo. Damon Clark, 3 total tackles, 2 solo. Sam Williams, 2 total tackles, 2 solo, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss. DeMarcus Lawrence, 2 total tackles, 2 solo. Deron Bland, 2 total tackles, 2 solo, 1 tackle for a loss. Again, we still have not called out Micah Parsons' name in the defensive category, but defense wasn't the issue today. Folks, going to this game, the Dallas Cowboys had an outside shot to win the number 2 seed, had an outside shot to win the NFC East, had outside shots even to win the number 1 seed in the NFC and receive a first-round bye. But in order to have a shot at all those factors, the Cowboys first had to start by winning the football game. Now, the Cowboys going into the game did not know the results of the other games because all the games, the Eagles versus the Giants, the 49ers, and the Cardinals were 4 p.m. starts. So the Cowboys went onto the football field knowing that do their part by winning the football game and hoping for help, i.e. losses by the Eagles as well as the 49ers to move up in the playoff standings. And the way the Cowboys came out, the way they played today, clearly was not indicative of a team that realized they had anything to play for. Because you knew things were going bad when Brian Anger, former Pro Bowl punter last year, fumbles the punt. So now the Commanders starting a rookie quarterback in Sam Howell gets his first offensive possession deep in the Cowboys territory. Boom, scores a touchdown on literally his first pass. Cowboys defense starts to settle down. Kevontae Turpin, the Pro Bowler, he muffs a punt. So within the first quarter, the Dallas Cowboys special teams, which is really a strength, has 2 miscues in the first quarter. Folks, again, it was only a harbinger of things to come. Dak Prescott, almost throwing a pick 6, turns around and follows up by throwing a pick 6 to the same cornerback, the same receiver that he literally almost threw a pick 6 on. So, again, it was just all bad. The Cowboys' offensive line could not do anything with the Commanders' defensive line, and this is actually without their best player in Jonathan Allen. Receivers couldn't get separation. If you want to talk about the worst performance that the Cowboys have had this season, other than the opening game on Sunday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they picked a time to have it. Now, here at Chin Check Radio, we don't overreact to losses, nor do we gloss over wins, but damn, this is not the kind of momentum that you want to go into playing Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, we are well aware that they have their own problems, but at the end of the day, this is still Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback who has ever lived. The same Tom Brady who is undefeated against the Dallas Cowboys. The same Tom Brady who, despite all odds, will find a way to win, especially at home in Tampa Bay. We broke down the matchup a little bit when we talked about the Cowboys playoff scenarios. There should not be any Cowboys fan that should be totally optimistic going into Tampa based off of this performance this evening against a Washington Commanders team playing against a rookie third-string quarterback as well as a defensive line without their best defensive player in one Jonathan Allen. Because again, they're going to be seeing Akeem Hicks, they're going to be seeing reveiw, so they're going to be seeing some studs up the middle, and they couldn't run the ball on the Commanders team. What's going to happen against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Very concerning. Cornerback Trayvon Mullen clearly was not at his best today, clearly was a wink leak. You know Tom Brady is going to pick on him, and pick on him with the weapons that he have, because Trevon Diggs should be able to hold his own, probably most likely against Mike Evans. That leaves Julio Jones and the other weapons around them. So to us, the other cornerbacks are going to have to step up. Deron Bland got hurt today. Now, this is our criticism of Mike McCarthy. Did anybody relay the scores to Mike McCarthy at some point during the game, which maybe he was trying to get his team more confidence? But our issue, especially on the offensive side, the offense is not doing much of anything. On the defensive side, you clearly see Micah Parsons is banged up. He's hurt. Something is just not right. And this really started in the first quarter. Yet Mike McCarthy inexplicably keeps the defense in the game. Again, Michael Parsons starts to get banged up. That was not the game for him to play, especially when you see the scoreboard posted all around the stadium to know that at this point, with the 49ers blowing out the Cardinals, the Eagles having a commanding lead against the New York Giants, that your hopes and dreams of moving up in the playoff rankings have been dashed, and you were stuck and locked in at the number 5 seed, traveling on the road to go to Tampa. And the fact that defensive players were still in the game well into the fourth quarter, we have a serious problem with that. We have defended Mike McCarthy. We think that he has done an excellent job this season, losing his starting quarterback, losing his right tackle, losing his left tackle, putting a rookie in there who's played very well. So those are the problems that we have with Mike McCarthy. So when people criticize Mike McCarthy, when people want to call for his job, this is some of the stuff that we're talking about and some of the ammunition that the anti-Mike McCarthy people get. Why are starters still playing in a game that with this point was absolutely meaningless? And I can make a point, the game was meaningless pretty much by the second half. So it was rather concerning. We thought that was a big-time coaching blunder. Going forward, and you could say really into tomorrow, we personally think the Jokers need to be in full pads going live tomorrow because, again, we were not convinced that this team was mature enough to handle a bye week. And look no further than today's game. The Cowboys had 10 days off and put on a pathetic performance. Let's say this again. The Cowboys had 10 days off after playing on Christmas Eve against the Philadelphia Eagles, coming back to play December 29th against the Tennessee Titans, and he had 10 days off to prepare for the season finale. And this is what shows up on the football field. A pathetic, putrid performance, and these things can't happen. So going into Tampa Bay, folks, go back last year and listen to the broadcast that we did going into the wild card game against the San Francisco 49ers. We stated that the Cowboys, specifically Dak Prescott, cannot have a slow start. We stated that the Cowboys cannot have those penalties that were a serious problem during the regular season in 2021. We said that the Cowboys clean those two areas up, the Cowboys would win the football game, and like clockwork, Dak Prescott had a slow start, and the Cowboys, I believe, had the most penalties either in a wild card game or ever in a game as a team. But clearly, the penalty thing around their neck, it reared the ugly head. We're talking about from the opening snap, we have players literally jumping off sides. Going into the playoffs this season, Dak Prescott. When has Dak Prescott all of a sudden turned into a turnover machine? We're not even talking about he's good for a turnover game. He's good for a pick six game. We're talking about not even flipping field position and possessions. We're talking about giving the other team points. When does it stop? This man has thrown a bunch of pick six pretty much within the last month. These things can't happen, and it cannot happen against a Tampa Bay football team because Tom Brady, again, is going to take that and it's going to be one and done. Those things can't happen. Dak Prescott cannot have another game, which again, he has a slow start. They need to wake up very quickly. That's going to make it happen. They're going to have to get the running game going. I read you the putrid stats against the Washington Commanders without Jonathan Allen. You're playing a Tampa Bay football team where they have studs in the middle, and the Cowboys have had issues with running the football. The Cowboys are going to have to run the football. Dak Prescott cannot be your savior. You're going to have to get Tony Pollard going. You're going to have to get Ezekiel Elliott going. You're really going to have to force the rush. Dak Prescott, stop throwing passes to the outside. Just stop throwing passes to the outside because, again, you throw pass to the outside, all of a sudden the cornerback makes a beat on it, or Noah Brown tends to tip the pass, or the ball bounces off his hands or his chest and it ends up in the DB's hands, and they're making a house call. And another thing, if you watch this game tonight, why the hell was Dak Prescott, especially on the interceptions, on the almost pick six and then the eventual pick six, was clearly forced balls to Noah Brown. CeeDee Lamb is your number one receiver. Get the ball to him. This is what playoffs are for. This is what you draft guys in the first round for. Get the ball to CeeDee Lamb. I get it. You're trying to get a number two receiver, but forcing balls where they don't need to be is a serious, serious problem. So Dak Prescott cannot have any turnovers, let alone any turnovers that leads to points, i.e. pick sixes. The offensive line is going to have to be physical and establish the run. Again, you got 3 Hall of Famers, albeit older guys, but you got 3 Hall of Famers on that offensive line who need to make some things happen, and then you start pushing the pile back. You're going to have to establish the run. On the defensive side, the pass rush is going to have to come. The pass rush, folks, has been non-existent in the last month or so. The Micah Parsons, the Doris Armstrong, the Sam Williams, the DeMarcus Lawrences, these guys are going to have to come to play. The pass rush got to be there because why? You're going to have to protect a back end with Deron Bland, who's injured. Question marks at secondary. So these are the things that the Cowboys are going to have to do. The pass rush is going to have to be their strength. They're going to have to get to Tom Brady early and often. They're going to have to get in his face. They're going to have to disrupt his rhythm. They're going to have to break that quick release. So the defensive line that's been non-existent is going to have to take some magic elixir between now and traveling down to Tampa Bay in order to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as well as the Cowboys defensive line stopping the run. Folks, the Cowboys defensive line cannot even stop the run today. So these are some things we're talking about. We got into it at the beginning of the season where we felt the Cowboys should have kept now Washington Commanders defensive tackle John Ridgeway, who was drafted by the Cowboys. We felt would have been a good run plugger. They chose to stay with Tristan Hill. And gee, guess what? They cut Tristan Hill, traded for Jonathan Hankins, who tore pectoral muscle. So we don't know if he's coming back from the playoffs. We hope he does, but we'll see what happens. So this is a game where the Cowboys are going to have to be ready to play. They're not going to play around. We're going to try to see if we're going to be in attendance in Tampa Bay. Of course, we'll definitely be watching the game on TV like you all. But we're going to do our best to try to get to Tampa Bay. But again, you're here and now. We gave you the keys to victory in the wild card game. Dak Prescott does not need to have any turnovers, let alone any pick sixes. Boom, that's number one, because that's been a severe issue. Run the football, run the football, which goes into the offensive line, dominating line of scrimmage, which is what they did not do today. And the pass rush, specifically getting to Tom Brady, which will protect your cornerbacks, namely anybody else other than Trayvon Diggs. And obviously clearly stop the run, but you definitely want to get that pressure to Tom Brady. Do not have the slow starts. Do not let the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hang around the game. A 6-point lead with a minute left and your defense is gassed out. Come out there, put a foot on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' neck, stay on Tom Brady, and beat the brakes off of them from the opening whistle. Do not play around and dominate that game. So we're definitely excited for Wild Card Weekend. Definitely come back and join us next week, as you definitely be hearing our review, whether we are at our normal location or whether we are down in Tampa Bay. Until the next time, it's Chin Check Radio, signing out.